Hey guys, what's up? It's Paul Salazar with the Paul Salazar Group here at Hilton Hyland. We got the whole crew here, the whole team. Thank you guys for
all hands on deck.
Yeah, thanks for coming. This is the first time that we've all come together to shoot a video because we're in a moment in time that is unprecedented in the city of Los Angeles. That is the Palisades fire as well as the Eaton fire. It's a devastating blow to our community. We have friends, we have family, we have clients that have lost houses, that have lost everything. And what we're trying to do, at least in the last 5 or 6 days, is get educated on everything about the rebuild process so we can help those in that process. If they're looking to sell, what does that look like? Mental health. I mean, every single thing that we can think of, we're trying to be in front of it all and understand it so we can be there to help serve those people that are in need. We got Christian on my left. Christian, thanks for coming on. Kyle. And we got Kate Caffrey. So let's talk about the number one thing we're seeing right now, Christian, is housing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. We have most of Palisades people have lost their houses, and the ones that haven't lost their houses need houses because they're not going to be living in that kind of war zone of an area.
Yeah. So all our hearts and prayers go out to everyone that's been affected in LA. We know it's been devastating that week. Just over a week. We've had an overwhelming response from the community, which has been so inspiring, I think, for us individually, to our friends, to our family, to our clients. So long that may continue. Paul, you're right. There's always been a shortage anyway in LA. Now, obviously, with everything that's been, the people that have been displaced, thousands of people in homes. We've got a huge shortage of housing supply. So, for us right now, our main focus is supporting, people that have been affected, for the friends, the families, the clients, to try and find any short-term, long-term, housing options. At the moment, I would advise anything on market. We're getting 10, 20, 30 applications because everyone wants them and needs them, given the fact that there's been a huge amount of destruction and loss in the last kind of 7-8 days. So what we're doing at the moment, the team, is trying to find off markets for either lease or for sale. Majority for lease right now because people just aren't aware of what the world looks like, in the next couple of weeks and months. So finding stuff off market for my clients or just reaching out to people in the community and finding stuff that isn't on the market is actually helping because it means they're not going to be having to compete with lots of other people. So we had one with Linda Flora recently with my listing, and
that was a for sale listing.
That was a for sale listing, and we had a family that had been displaced in Palisades, and were looking for something they needed, kind of like for at least 6 months. It was on the sales market, not on the rental market, which was great, and we managed to we've got conversations. We're very close to putting that family up, which has been great. I've had other clients that have been looking, on Zillow and Redfin and other areas, and they're putting applications in, and the listing agent's saying there's 20, 30, 40 applications coming in for these homes. So it's kind of, that's where we're I'm seeing a lot of help and value to my customers and clients and friends through those off markets.
And not only that, but we're dealing with a lot of legal issues because of this housing shortage, right, for leases. There is a price gouging law in place in California. And basically what it is that you cannot increase the price by more than 10% if it's been on the market currently for lease, or if it's been on the market about a year ago, right? Something like that. Or no more than 160% of the, I think the fair market value according to HUD, which is very, very low. So that
Just for example, a fair market value from HUD is $5,000 for a 3-bedroom, so 160% of that for Brentwood.
Yeah.
So even before all of this happening, you're never going to find a 3-bedroom house in Brentwood for $3,000. So that's kind of already out the window. Yeah.
So a lot of the people that are trying to help out these families are electing not to even get involved with the lease paperwork because of this price gouging. There's a $10,000 fine and a possible 1 year in prison. So that's kind of one of the things that we are trying to work, not around, but I mean, we're obviously being conscious of the fact that we don't want people to overpay for these leases. But there's times where an owner does not want to lease, and if he does lease, he does want a premium for his house. He can't even get that premium right now. So we're kind of dealing with that.
I think just on that point, it's when it first happened, the fires, and we saw many people start to try and increase the rents, significantly, 50, 60, 70%, which is just inhumane, given the fact that people have lost everything.
Especially when you see these houses that were sitting on the market in October, November, and 2023, and they weren't moving.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there for 30,000, and then all of a sudden you could see on Zillow or the MLS on January 8th and January 9th and January 10th, these houses that weren't moving over the last year all of a sudden come back at 60% higher.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is going on? There's an outroar.
And I think on that point is that like that's where the community have come together, both agents and actually predominantly agents. They've been calling out other agents that have been taking advantage of this tragedy. And I think for us, this price gauging rules are very important. Number one, to safeguard people that need housing straight away that aren't going to get ripped off, and also just again back to the community. They've stepped up. We've called out people that have been doing that, and now not only the agents are coming down on these other agents, but also the government is, with these emergency acts that are coming into place as well. So in that respect, I think it has been a very good response. Yeah. Now it's a case of let's knuckle down, let's support the community, let's make sure we can get the housing that these people need right now, because it's a desperate situation.
Yeah, and the other thing that we're seeing is just a huge influx in inventory for sale, houses for sale. People that have maybe thought about selling maybe in February or March are saying, let's sell now. Let's take advantage of the opportunity to put our house on the market because there's people that need homes. So we're seeing not only that, but there was already a lot of houses that are going to be coming on the market because it's January, right? Mid-January is when a lot of the new houses come on the market, plus people that were waiting after the election. So there's 3 different big factors that are coming in, and we're seeing a lot of houses come on the market. We'll see how that affects prices moving forward. If these houses don't sell, they're going to be sitting on the market.
Yeah. I think also it's dependent on the insurance conversations and companies working with these potential buyers that are coming into the market, because historically this has been the peak season for people looking to buy after the holidays and the new year. People are now actively looking to buy. Plus we've got the people that have been displaced and the conversations they're having. I've had clients that have had so far great experience with insurance companies where they've already said, this is your budget, this is your rental, and this is what we can do with your house. So they've got an idea in terms of budget. They are looking to either lease or buy. But then on the other hand, they've got other clients that just have not getting any response or very little response from the insurance company. So I think that's going to play out in the next couple of weeks and months to see how people are going to look to rehome, look to either rebuild, or go out of state. That's just all going to come out, I think, in the next couple of weeks.
I think one of the main issues that we heard is that they're saying that around 30% of people in the Palisades are underinsured.
Underinsured or not insured?
Or not
insured at all. Yeah.
Not insured at all. So that's going to create a lot of issues for those homeowners. What are they going to do? Do they have the money to rebuild? Most likely, a lot of them don't. Otherwise, they probably would have gotten fire insurance. So there are probably going to be a lot of lots for sale in the near future. But let's talk about a different couple scenarios for the homeowners that have been affected in the Palisades fire. You're either going to rebuild, or you're going to sell your lot. Really, that's it. Or wait and see what to do in the near future, right? So if they're looking to rebuild, Kate, you've been in the what do you call it, construction business? Yeah, for a long time.
I've been learning that field for a few years, and I hate to say this, but the rebuild process is going to be a long period of time. And obviously, Karen Bass and the local governments here are doing things and putting task forces in place to speed up that process around permitting, even around toxic cleanup. She's creating these different committees to help speed up this process. Typically, when you put in a permit, it could take up to a year to be reviewed, and she's trying to shrink that time all the way down to 30 days. So we've got a lot of things to see happen here, but the rebuild process in general, the first thing that is going to have to happen is removal of the toxic debris. Obviously, lots of old houses burnt. There's lots of unhealthy things in the air right now. It's also in your foundation and on your lot. So it's really important to keep families, kids off the lot right now and to hire professionals to clean up this debris. There's going to be more information coming from the city on what's required. And again, this is one of Karen's task forces that she's putting together. So stay tuned for more info on that.
Okay.
The next thing will be that these people will need to find their as-built plans for their homes to submit to the city for permits. Now, some of these homes are 50 years old. Those as-built permits are probably not on record in one of your drawers. You may need to go to the city, which you can do, and approach them to find those plans. They should have it on record. If for whatever reason, there are no records, if the house is entirely different since these were drawn, you will have to work with an architect to help redraw these. and they're going to, look at pictures of your home. They're going to ask you to give a description of what you've done to the house. They're going to go to the site. They're going to measure the foundation or what's left. And then they're going to help you rebuild those plans. And then the goal will be to submit those plans to the city as soon as possible. With all these houses needing to be rebuilt, or with even a small percentage of them submitting permits, the line is typically, like I said, a year long. So we really need to see Karen Bass and whoever else work on shortening that time to help this process be quicker than it would typically be. Some foundations are going to need to be reworked. There's going to be certificates and testing. We're going to see a lot more information on this coming out. But those are the general steps, and then after that, you get to choose whichever general contractor you wish to work with. That is, several months down the line at this point. We have heard in conversations today that people are already starting this process. So I know people that have submitted permits to rebuild already. So if you're considering this, contact us, get as much info as you can from an architect, and really start to think about moving on this, because the line is long.
Yeah, for sure. I spoke with Pacific Crest Consultants. They're one of the top permit expediting companies out there here in LA. And one of the people that work there told me that they see that they'll maybe seeing people rebuild by the end of the year, which is really fast. But again, that's just her opinion on it. We don't know if that's actually going to happen or not. We also haven't touched on the public utilities, sewer lines, power lines, gas lines. All that has to get fixed and reworked. Are they going to keep putting all the power lines above ground like they have and create this mess again? Or are they going to put them underground? If they put them underground, that may take some time, right?
There are task forces around that as well, because that's a huge concern. You can't even get permits approved without water and power.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kaya.
No, you're fine. I was thinking the cost per build. What do we think is going to happen with that? I mean, there are 5,000 homes and 5,000 businesses and homes that are completely destroyed. What do we think is going to happen to the cost per build? Are people taking that into consideration? Because obviously the demand is a lot higher. Is the supply going to be able to meet that demand, or is it going to be even pushed further down the road? And people didn't think that all these costs are increasing, and is insurance going to cause that or cover that? Because if insurance covers a $5 million build or $5 million worth of build and it's more than that, then what happens? It's people need to be educated on how much it's going to cost to build them, how much everything's going to do, the holding cost, whether the taxes are there. It's really, even if you have a decision whether to sell or to build or whatever you're thinking, you need to understand all the options. You need to understand all the information so that you can make the most educated decision.
Yeah, the cost of construction have gone up with inflation. So we've seen that rise over the last 2 years, and it's going to be important to get bids from multiple contractors and to understand, like you said, the true costs of what it's going to be to build.
I can imagine that the cost is going to go up at least 20% minimum.
With all the demand.
Yeah, but are we still going to be using the same materials? We talked about putting the power lines underground, and obviously there's other technology out there that's making these a little bit more fire retardant materials to build your house. Are people going to use the same materials, or are they going to have to use another material in order to be covered by insurance even down the road?
Yeah, 100%.
So there's
that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually looking for somebody to interview about that part, because there are some houses that did not burn down. And a lot of those they have materials outside that aren't flammable. I mean, complete communities got burned down because they had wood around the entire property, and they're just waiting to get lit up. So I think the city has to look into that, and I think there has to be new laws regarding what materials can be used when building these houses in high fire zones. And that will also help insurance companies come in there and say, okay, you built a house that is less likely to burn down in a wildfire. I will either give you insurance, or at least the premium will be a little bit less.
Yeah, but think about putting a new law into place while everything is going on.
Of course, no, I get it.
That's even pushing it further, holding costs further. There's going to be so many different lawsuits that are going on just from people holding you up from being able to build your own house.
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of problems.
And I think a good
on.
example of that was the obviously there's push for new legislation coming in off the back of this natural disaster. Like, for example, the California Fair Plan, which currently up to 3 million. They're pushing to extend up to 6 because so many people have lost their homes, cannot afford the insurance. They're paying extortionately high premiums, and only getting a small percentage of what the property's worth.
Yeah, so the fair plan, just for everyone who doesn't know, it covers your home up to $3 million, and that's it. Anything over $3 million, you're kind of on your own, unless you have a secondary or a premium insurance policy that covers the rest of the house. A lot of the people, if you don't fall under the California Fair Plan Act, $3 million you're paying out of pocket, or you're not being able to afford it. So just last year in State Farm alone canceled 72,000 insurance policies throughout Los Angeles. So then the people who had State Farm, they had to go under the California Fair Plan, and that $3 million is all that it covers. The private coverage or their insurance companies like State Farm or Allstate or whatever the case may be, if you want to insure more than 3,000 or 3 million, it went from, I'm just going to throw an arbitrary number out there, went from maybe $10,000 a year to cover your house to like 20, 30,000.
Yeah.
And people just can't spend that money just out of nowhere.
No.
So there's a lot of issues that the insurance is causing, and the house, everything it's a mess right now.
Yeah, and I think those people are going to go from an 8,000 square foot house to a 5,000 square foot house to a 4,000 square foot house. Because they can't afford to build the 8,000 square foot house because they don't have insurance for it.
Yeah.
So we'll see a lot of these bigger mansions now, they're going to be downsized, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know? Okay.
Which leads to the next point.
Yeah.
An 8,000 square foot mansion on a lot, that's what it was. And now we don't know what it's going to be. So basically the comparables and the data for these, the sales of coming up of what's going to happen it's just not out there right now.
No.
We have no idea.
No, and that goes to the next thing. If you're not looking to rebuild and you're like, I don't have the money, or I just don't want to, wait 3 or 4 or 5 years to live in a community that's already been rebuilt, what are the options? I mean, they can sell a piece of land. What's it worth right now?
We don't know yet.
Yeah.
Very low.
Yeah.
We would always advise clients to at least, not to kind of a knee-jerk reaction try and sell now,
I
because
agree.
they're going to get
Well,
very little for their money, right?
Yeah.
We know in the next 6-12 months it's going to be more correction in the market once people start to work out what that looks like. But yeah, with all our clients,
well, just to put it into perspective, Los Angeles put in already a safeguard for people who are victims, that you can't make predatory offers on these houses. Unsolicited predatory offers, because there are so many people with nothing. They lost everything, and people are opportunistic, and they're coming in and they're making offers on these houses. And a lot of people, they can't afford to say no to some of these prices. So the unsolicited predatory offers are illegal now, or at least for the next 3 months. So to talk about if you want to either build or what you're going to do with your land, what's
your advice to them?
My advice is to be completely educated on all your options. Yeah. All you can do is understand what your holding costs are, what you can do to extend those holding costs. So whether it's pushing your mortgage out or pushing whatever the case may be, the taxes, there's incentives that the government's giving you so that you don't have to have so many expenses going out per month. You got to find out every option that you have. You got to be able to apply for FEMA. The SBA disaster loan.
Just for people that know FEMA, what does that mean? For people out there for FEMA?
It's a disaster program by the United States government to help people that are going through these. But I've already talked to some people that are that are in the know, and that money is going to be so small that it may cover a couple months of living expenses. Cool. But it will not help out with building a house. Yeah. It's so small.
I think also just a guidance and some caution from anyone that has lost their house, like go and speak to your lender straight away, because a lot of historically what's happened in the past with either COVID or other natural disasters, that you stop paying your mortgage repayments, and then
don't do that. Do not stop paying your mortgage payments.
Speak to your lender first, because what has happened in the past is people will stop paying their mortgage repayments, have to refinance, and then they might be on a 3.5% interest, and suddenly they're going to lose that and have to pay double, which is the current market value, right? Whatever it might be. So speak to your lender, make sure that you're covered in that respect.
So that's called forbearance. If you want to forbear your mortgage and you are not paying because for whatever you don't want to or you can't afford it, whatever the case may be, if you don't talk to your lender first and you don't have the option in there that keeps your mortgage rate what it is at the 2.5%, at the 3%, even 5%, whatever the case may be, you need to have that in there, that if you choose not to pay, that once you start picking up your payments again, that it's going to be still the same rate. If that option is not available to you and you choose not to pay your mortgage, you just lost that rate, and they're
Yeah.
going to have to refinance or do whatever they can to make
Speak
those
to your
payments.
lender.
Yeah.
So
If you haven't
speak to
already.
a lender.
Yeah,
yes.
and the payments that you don't pay after you speak with your lender and you negotiate that will just go on the back end of your mortgage. So it's not like it's not adding to the balance. It'll just push those payments are pushed.
Push it down the road, kick the can down the
yeah,
road.
exactly. So if you have a 30-year mortgage, then it's a 31-year mortgage, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about rebuilding process. We talked about if they don't want to rebuild, what are the options? Again, we don't know yet. We don't know what the market's going to be like right now. But what we have spoken to a top developer, the number one spec developer in the nation, Thomas James, and they told me that they're getting a ton of inquiries already from people that need either help selling their place or with the rebuilding process. So they still don't have it. They don't know what they're going to do yet. But they're getting a lot of inquiries already.
I mean, and to take it back to that point, we don't know what the market value for the land is, and people are coming in and they're going to give you offers. It's illegal to do unsolicited offers right now, but because there's no data based on where we are right now, people are going to be lowballing if you get anything at all. And if you can hold on to your land for as long as you can, that's really the best way to set yourself up where you're not just getting rid of it for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough time, but if you can hold on to it, that's something that we would suggest at least looking into, at least understanding all of your options before you make that decision, because it's a tough decision to make, and it's, you got to be educated and you got to do everything you can to learn all your options.
Yeah, and what we've done over the last few days is we wanted to curate a resource center, a resource list for families that have been affected. So. Kate, why don't you talk about what's on that list and how people can find that?
Yeah, absolutely. We sent it out via email to all of our clients and friends, and we've included things like insurance guidance, architect contacts, contractors, mental health guidance if you need, therapy for your kids that are misplaced and out of schools right now. We have our general contact information. What am I missing, guys? Just links to all the state.
Yeah, it's a curated list of people that we know that can help out with the situation. There's also attorneys on there as well. So if you're having issues dealing with insurance, I would recommend hiring an attorney for that. But most likely you probably won't have any issues. But if you do, you may think about that. They may charge between 10 and 12% of what they get back, which is a really big sum. So just make sure that you understand that.
I think also the purpose of this resource is that there's so much being thrown onto the content on social media, emails, news flashes, blasts, all that kind of stuff. We're just trying to consolidate this one document that pretty much covers everything that you need right now if you're being affected by the fires. So hopefully you've received that. If you've got any questions, please reach out. But hopefully that just makes it easier for everyone to have one kind of source of truth to go to get the knowledge and information.
For sure. We'll make sure that
keep it updated.
Yeah. We'll drop a link down in the comments below as well as the description. Let's talk about insurance moving forward. Where do we see insurance moving forward in high fire zones? It doesn't look pretty. Anybody want to comment? I mean, it's just I think it's the obvious. It's going to be really hard. It's going to be really expensive.
I don't think anyone knows.
I think the prices of these communities are going to have to, they're going to drop a little bit, I think, because the cost of insurance is going to be so expensive. I think people will still want to buy in those communities, but if they're going to have to, take on, 20% more on insurance, they can't pay the same amount for that house. So that's going to be, we don't know what's going to happen, but most likely insurance. I mean, right now you cannot close on a house in Southern California. There's a moratorium until the fires are 98% contained. As of today, the Palisades fire is 22% contained. It just moved up 4% only in one day. I think that's it, guys. Anything else that we want to close with?
I would say that I'm super proud and super inspired by the community, how the agent community has come together, how, we're driving down the street and we're seeing hundreds of people lined up to help out any way that they can. So LA as a whole, I'm super grateful to be part of the community, and I think that's been inspiring. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, look, this city is made of people that have come here to do something special. If it's acting, if it's singing, if it's business, if it's just for the weather because they're in a really bad weather state, but they're coming here for a better life, and we are go-getters.
It's a city of dreamers.
Yes.
And we're not letting those dreams
We're
go.
we're not letting those dreams go. Thank you, Kate. And so I have to agree with Kyle. I've seen just an amazing effort by the real estate community, by just everybody. Everybody who hasn't been affected is going there and doing their best to donate, to volunteer, to do whatever they can to spread the word. GoFundMe's. I mean, I don't know how much money these GoFundMe's have made. I know my family's house got burnt down. They've already made like $35K on the GoFundMe. I know that the general wildfire fund on GoFundMe has already gotten $3.7 million. So that's really inspiring to see that everybody, because look, people love LA. And we have so many tourists here, and they don't want to see the city go down. So we get a lot of love. So we just want to say we appreciate all the love from everybody out there. Now, not only like my friends and family from around the world that have reached out to me. I'm sure you guys have had the same thing, asking how we're doing, how we're feeling, how can we help. So just want to say from all of us, thank you so much for all those messages. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. And if you have any questions, leave a comment down below. And have a good one. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.